I just want to do something that I'm going to commit to.
I'm so compelled to share, to pull other people out of their situation.
And I'm giving hope to women just like me who, probably felt unseen.
It's just about finding what you love and what you're passionate about.
Do what you love. Do what you love.
And I really realized that this is what happens once you let go. You just create all that space,
It's about helping each other. It's about growing with each other. It's about being true to self.
To whom much is given, much is required.
You only ever have one obstacle, and that's yourself.
Commit to change. Change your life. Change your future.
Hey, and welcome to Commit to Change, otherwise known as C2C podcast, that gives a voice to the people who may be considered a small fry in their industry, but are doing big things in their communities. This is Miss Nikki, the Jane of all trades, but the master of living. I am committed to introducing local VIPs, which are vivaciously inspiring people to encourage you on your daily journey, as well as let you know what is possibly happening around you in your area. Today, our guest comes from right around the way here in Vegas, Miss Jacent Wamala. Did I say it right? Did I mess that up? I got it.
You got it. It's good. You're good. Thank you.
Yes. Welcome to the C2C podcast. Say hello to everyone.
Hello. Excited to chat today.
Yay. All right. Okay. So let me give you a little insight on who she is. She was born in Uganda, but she was raised in Las Vegas. She is a podcast host of a podcast called Jacent Gems. She is Jacent Gems. She is also a licensed marriage and family therapist and educator right here in Vegas. She has a private practice and a wellness company that specializes in millennial women of color dealing with anxiety, depression, and trauma recovery. In addition, Jacent runs a nonprofit called Ekubo, that creates global experiences that focuses on education, enrichment, and empowerment. She hosts regular workshops on personal and professional growth, and she has made it her life's mission to create an impact on her community personally and professionally. Welcome again to the C2C podcast, Jacent Wamala.
Thank you so much for having me. It means so much that you have created this platform, allowing for local small businesses, small, right, quote unquote, small businesses to be able to share what they're doing. So I appreciate you for hosting me and inviting me on the show. I do work both professionally as a mental health professional in private practice, and I also am the on-site mental health professional at a local charter school, and I teach at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas in different areas. And then I'm an educator and an entrepreneur as well. So I've got the nonprofit with my cousin, and I personally recently paid over $90,000 off in student loan and credit card debt and shared my journey on the internet, which kind of turned it into its own thing. So I recently, just 2 days ago, launched Wealth and Wellness University, which is a millennial private curated group for those motivated to kind of tackle and commit to their personal growth and their personal finance journey. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now. Times are uncertain and tough, but I think there's also a lot to be gained from, forced adaptation. So I'm just trying to mine to get the most out of it and to create the biggest impact that I possibly can.
Wow, that's amazing. Especially, like school debt is like one of the biggest. I remember there was a couple of shows that they were talking about it and how that's like, that's a pandemic on its own here in the US. And I know I'm one of those people, so I need to take your class. Because I have, yes, honey, because my student loans are like, they're knocking at the door. Well, yeah, wonderful.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I just said that's wonderful. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that in the process of, my own personal journey, I also, in working with clients, would recognize that each one of my clients, except for one in all the years that I've been doing therapy, has mentioned finances as a stressor. And so what was clear was, if it's something that I realize is an issue in my own life, and every client that I work with, except for one, is mentioning finances as a stressor, why are we not having more of these conversations, especially, you know, in our community and things like that. So, you know, I've kind of coupled the mental health with the money to tackle it.
Wow, well, that's something that's definitely needed. And like I said, the student loan thing is, besides your regular debt, you know, those are all stressors amongst our community, especially I believe in our Black and Brown communities, and it's something that's needed. So can you tell us a little bit about both sides of what you do for, you know, as you're giving back to the community? What is the things that you give with the therapy? And then also tell us a little bit more into your financial university.
Yeah, so as a clinician, I started practicing in 2014 while I was in graduate school at UNLV, and I've been practicing ever since. So, you know, some people seek out their niche, and some people, their niche kind of finds them. So for me, I wanted to be a therapist because I wanted to work with couples originally. But then what I realized was, these couples is kind of, okay, I don't know that this is the work that I want to do. It's tough. And so it quickly transitioned. And what I noticed was that overwhelmingly, a lot of women were seeking me out for services. And so I was like, okay, I looked around and I'm like, there are a lot of, you know, like there's a lot of women that are looking for me and that need support and that happen to look like me, or we have something in common, whether it's we're first generation or women of color or we're educated, and that they're just needing this support. And so I kind of niched down to working with women specifically, mainly kind of millennial age, but I've had clients that were like 70 years old. I've had clients that were 60. And I also have worked with, you know, younger kids as well. But it was just overwhelmingly, I saw this need for millennial women of color to get services to really just deal with life being difficult. And so because of that, that's kind of how the podcast was born, because I didn't want to use up their time in session, but I knew there was information that they needed. So I created the podcast to house information that I wanted them to listen to between sessions and things like that. So it really started out that way, but it was an overwhelming response from the community when I started it. And it's kind of grown into its own thing. So the mental health aspect, which, you know, is my first love, has kind of turned into that work where I really specialize in that area. And then the other, you know, the personal finance and that journey and sharing it on social, you know, I was very transparent. I would literally send, you know, put up snapshots of my accounts. I'm showing people what my student loans look like when they're going down. Like, I'm showing people that I'm making payments, because I really feel like that we don't get the ability to see that there is another way, especially for our communities. So, you know, we don't see it being possible for us, and the lack of representation of people that look like us or that have similar backgrounds as us, transparently kind of from the bottom up, watching that occur, I don't think happens a lot. I think there's a lot of people that are successful, but it's like we didn't know who they were and then they were successful. So we didn't watch the progression. So that's why I wasn't sharing the journey for any purpose for it to turn into something, but you know, it kind of just did. So in May, before my 30th birthday, I finished making all of my payments. I'm on Instagram, so I would join people's lives strategically for my business. Every time I join someone's live, I click request, which kind of sounds crazy, but it worked out. So I did it, and I went on live with Anthony O'Neill for a few minutes. And because of that, he invited me on his show, which then turned into another thing. And so I realized that my story, I guess, started out me doing it for myself, and then became it being something that was inspiring and motivating for other people. So overwhelmingly, I would get emails and DMs to this day. Just this morning, someone sent me an email and was like, hey, I'm credit card debt free now. I've just finished paying off $7,000 since June when I saw your video. And I'm like, what? Like, who am I? I'm just like, okay, great job, you know? So it's been really fun. just being able to watch other people's journeys and support them and cheer them on in that process. And I did a financial challenge in February with some people, just little rink-a-dink, like, hey, who wants to focus on finance in the month of February? And one person saved $1,000, one person saved $500. Both of them were laid off the next month because of the pandemic. And then they at least had a cushion between them and the crisis. Now one of them has her own business that she's working on, and the other has a plan to be debt-free by the time she's 30. So it's just taking on a life of its own. And I think that when you're living in your purpose, when it finds you, or when you find it, things fall together very easily.
Wow, that is so amazing. So the work that the financial aspect, because you said you were into therapy. So where did you learn about the finance part? Like, how did you, get so in depth for like the knowledge of knowing what to do financially so that way you could pass it on?
Yeah, I don't think that blatantly growing up there were any lessons like, this is what you do with money, and I don't think a lot of families have those very candid conversations, except those that are maybe in wealthier families, right? And so the only lesson I really remember getting very clearly was like, never co-sign for anybody ever in your life. And I haven't done that. I was like, okay, I listened to the lesson, like, good job. But I went into a lot of debt. So I never wanted to go into debt. When I was 18, I didn't have a plan. So when you don't have a plan, you kind of fall prey to whatever the default is. What is the default in America?
Yes.
The default is debt. Okay.
Yes.
The default is, you're supposed to graduate, go to college, but in order to go to college is expensive. So you need to get loans in order to go to college to live a good life, but they don't tell you how to actually get a job that you're hireable for. It's this cycle that is vicious and really like haunts people's lives when they have the rude awakening that, wait, this didn't go how I thought it was going to. This isn't turning out the way I was told, whatever that means, right? Like by society or pop culture. And so I used to go to a church, and I had seen Dave Ramsey talk. I had one of his books, but I didn't finish it, the struggle. And so that was when I went into debt, was mainly during graduate school. I got divorced, and my father passed away in the same year, and it was a really tough time. And so it wasn't until a couple years after that I was like, okay, like, I can't keep going like this, like, this doesn't feel good. I don't enjoy this. I taught personal growth and development for years before that. So I knew the principles of creating a goal and accomplishing it. And so I just essentially kind of used that framework and applied it to my finances. So my cousin had gotten me a book 2016 called The Smart Money Woman, and it's about a Nigerian woman who is getting her finances together herself. So that book was very charismatic and lighthearted for a subject that's really personal and terrifying. Okay, like, I'm a therapist, I don't do math. So so that book was really helpful in me starting the process, like entertaining the idea of starting to address, my personal finance journey. One of the prompts is to write down your net worth. When I did that exercise, and when I tell you I wrote down negative $70,000, I was like, okay, wow, that's disrespectful. Like, how did we get here? Because your accounts are all separated. So you don't see that number all together. And so when I did that, I was like, okay, this can't be my life. Like, I have some options here. I can accept this and take the long road, or I can try to figure something out to get out of debt sooner. And so it started with a decision. I was like, I can't do this. But the crazy thing is that in 2016, I think I only made like $17,800.
Wow.
So I wasn't making a lot of money. So I decided I was going to get out of debt. And then I was like, it would be cool to get out of debt before I'm 30. I was 26 at the time, and my birthday's in May. So I spent from January 2017 until I started a new job in September of 2017 looking for the right position. And when it was divine, you know what I mean? Again, when you start walking in your purpose, or if it's for you, that's what's going to happen. So it took me the majority of the year to find the right job. And I ended up tripling my income at that point. And because I had a goal, it forced me to adapt. It forced me to figure out how to make it happen. As opposed to prior to that, I didn't necessarily have a goal for my income. I didn't have a goal for my business. So that's how I was able to not make a lot of money. And that's just what it was, because I was aimless, essentially. So creating a target gave me purpose, and the purpose gave me the opportunity to experience some really cool things. So I read back over Total Money Makeover, skimmed it, came up with the plan, and just hit the ground running. Started selling stuff, moved in with my best friend, and didn't have a life. No, I'm kidding. I still had kind of a life. But I worked quite a bit. So I told everybody, hey guys, like, I'm going to be doing this, and I promise I'll see you in about 3 years. Love you. Bye.
And that's the way to be, because some people don't understand that that's the life of an entrepreneur. Gary Vee was like, listen, he had to give up all that type of stuff because he knew what he was going after. And, you know, look at him now, if you know Gary Vee. Mm-hmm. But like that's amazing, especially at a young age, that you were able to have that discipline to do that. So I commend you. Yes. I wish I had a thing that said like some clappers or something.
Right.
So I have to ask, like, I know you were saying that you were listening and you heard that most of your clients, a lot of them, you know, except one, had the issue with finances. So would you say like this was your inspiration to your commitment to change, or was there like one actual event that happened and that was your catalyst to say, you know, I'm going to make this shift and this is where I'm going to dedicate my time to?
Yeah, I don't think it was a single event, but I think it was the combination of a series of events that fell into place at a time where I was aware enough and in a place conscious enough to see it and put the pieces together. So between my own stress about finances and listening to my clients talk about their finances, or people not even being able to get therapy because of finances, right? Not even being able to access services because of their money, you know, issues essentially. And really just being crazy, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a big dreamer, so I like crazy challenges. And at that time, it was dealing with grief and just my own mental health and stuff like that, where all of it together kind of created, again, I guess maybe like in reading that book and that single act of writing my net worth was the thing that was like, okay, like this has to happen now. But it wasn't like I didn't entertain the idea or think about it prior to. So, you know, that action made me decide, and the deciding made me commit to action. But it was a combination of things that I was like, this just can't be life. Like I don't like this. I don't want this. I don't like this. What if, right? And so we do a lot of what if on the negative side of things. Like, what if the world falls apart? What if everyone hates me? What if I get fired? What if we have the high tendency to practice negative what if scenarios, which to me leads to anxiety essentially. But right. I try to force myself to practice the what ifs on the other side. So what if I were able to get out of debt? And then I took it to the next level. What if I could get out of debt before I'm 30? Like, how cool would that be? And that comes from love and just pure joy and peace. And when you manifest and when you pray and when you have desire straight from that place, then it's pure. It can't be, it's not bad, right? I'm not saying, well, I want money because I'm greedy. It wasn't the money that I wanted. I wanted freedom. I wanted time. I wanted to be able to serve more. And I think because of that, it really helped. So, yeah.
Okay. So, what obstacles do you feel like you dealt with during this shift, and how did you overcome them?
Girl, FOMO. Listen, I was 26 in Las Vegas. My friend, and there's social media, right? Maybe there wasn't social media, but you know, my friends are going to the pool in the summer. They're traveling. They're, you know, doing all kinds of different stuff. And so it was difficult because I couldn't do all those things with them all the time. Because it didn't match up with my goals. So I had to say no a lot. And then I had to recognize what came up when I said no to myself. A lot of us are adults, but we're like toddlers when we get told no. So, you know, when I told myself no, I'm like having a tantrum on the inside, like, but you know what, you got, you know, whatever comes up when you tell yourself no. So I had to deal with that. That was an obstacle and a realization, right? It forced personal growth. I couldn't hang out the way I wanted to. I couldn't travel the way I wanted to because I love to travel. And it was kind of, I was on the grind. So it was also, and I didn't really know anyone else that was doing what I was doing at the time. While people were supportive, they weren't doing that same exact thing. So it was a little bit isolating too. So dealing with that stuff were obstacles, but they didn't outweigh what I saw to be the benefits at the end of the day.
Right. And you mentioned they were supportive. So who would you say was your biggest supporter throughout your journey?
Man, that's a tough question. You know, I'm so grateful to have the community and the network that I do, because everyone was supportive. I would bring my own food to restaurants and eat with my friends. They were eating the restaurant food and I'm eating my meal prep. So I feel like everyone was really, really, really there. And if ever they saw what I was doing, they would keep me on track. I can't say that there was just one person that stood out more than anyone else. Thankfully, I just have a lot of really great support, and everyone pitched in to kind of support me in the process. Thankfully, I'm grateful and I'm blessed for that to be the case, you know?
Well, we want to thank your whole support system for keeping her afloat and keeping her moving forward and staying in the vision and the passion. So thank you all. So how do you list their names? Well, the floor is yours if you want to. No. We have to start playing the music like on the award show.
Right. Yep. You're gonna have to pull me off the stage.
Well, we thank your big network of people who are supporting you. That's really a great thing to have, especially during the entrepreneurship journey. So awesome. So now, how do you feel that you are adding value to your community?
When I think about it now, it's crazy, but it's not crazy. Because even when I was growing up and you ask a kid, like, what do you want to do when you grow up? You know, and they're like, I want to be a firefighter and I want to be a doctor. And at some point, you know, I think I said all those things at some point, but then at one point I was like, I want to be a philanthropist, you know? And from a very young age, I wanted to serve. And I think that everything at the end of the day has to do with service. The times where I've led myself, like gone to my own path and thought like, I don't want to be serving people, like, you know, it didn't work out. I always got led back to service, and we can't avoid, you know, serving in our work and in our relationships. That's what we're here to do. And so it's my life's mission. Like, I really feel like this is what I'm here for, is to serve. And then specifically in the ways that I'm supposed to serve is continuing to kind of reveal itself as we go. So I'm like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. You know, you think that you're supposed to be doing one thing and life kind of shows you, well, go to the left a little bit, go to the right. This is, you know, and you start to see more and more where your place is. And it fills me with joy. Again, I got an email this morning that she paid off her debt, paid off all her credit cards. She's got only her car left. I have another person who, you know, just wrote a testimonial for me, paid off $30,000 in like 4 months. Wow. You know, and I'm just like, I'm not doing their work for them, but I guess me sharing my story or me being where I'm supposed to be in my process, is helping them to be where they're supposed to be. I come from a collectivistic culture. I'm African. So, you know, it takes a village. It's not just about children. Right. It takes a village for moms. It takes a village for dads. It takes a village for communities to thrive. And if we're all kind of doing what we are called to, then it works like a well-oiled machine, you know? And so I'm glad to kind of do my part so that everything can work as it should, at least in my corner of the world.
So is there something that happened when you were young that would just make you feel like, I want to do more? Like, this is what I want to do. I want to serve. Like, what was it that you thought that way? I guess it's amazing for me to see someone young, have that thought process, because like, I've had to work in the school systems, as a substitute and as a teacher, and the mindset of the young kids are like, it's nowhere near where yours is. So I'm just curious, like, what did it? Like, what are you like? Are you the only child? Like, what was it? Please tell me more. I want to know more.
Yeah, I am the only child. My mom passed away when I was 5, and my dad passed away when I was 24. So
Man.
I experienced grief quite early on in life and loss. Again, I am first generation, so I think that creates a different dynamic and a different mindset when it comes to life. I grew up in a Ugandan home in America, so it's a very specific experience. Again, thankfully, like, I have such a great family that's very supportive, and a lot of them work in service, whether they are, nurses or caregivers or in science or in business, and watching, I guess, other people watching my family serve each other, if that makes sense. Because for us to even be here in the States, my Judja, who I think, how old is she now? I think she's like 67 or something. She and her husband had to individually bring family members to the States. So they were serving our family by, taking on the responsibility of creating opportunities for the whole family. Because I don't want to say that being in Uganda would be a bad thing. Like, I would be living my whole, but look, I would consider going back at this point.
Yes, honey, I feel it.
You can come too, girl. You can come
too.
But it's not that would be a bad life. It would be just as beautiful, just as amazing. But that what they did, the sacrifices that they made for us to have the opportunities that we have. I've mentioned it before. I just feel like it would be disrespectful to not like take that opportunity and run with it. So that's where that fuel comes from, as far as like knowing that people have made sacrifices for me to be where I'm at today. And who would I be to live a life that doesn't honor that, and then to take it to the next level, right? Not to just be content with, all right, like, cool, I'm glad I'm here. I have nieces and nephews. Like, I didn't have a partner at the time. I didn't have any natural born children or anything like that. I don't have any natural born children, but I was like, I have nieces and nephews, I need to set the pace for them. Like, the people that came before me set the pace for me, that they can know that anything is possible for them. I got my master's degree. I didn't want to go to graduation, but I was like, these people gonna watch me walk across this stage, and so I think that it really had to do kind of with my family, and wanting to be my life to be what pays homage to what they've done for me and what I want to do for them.
Wow.
It makes me emotional.
The respect.
I can't talk about it.
Okay. That is a resounding respect and honor. Wow. So what tips would you give someone who was sitting on the fence of their field of dreams? They know they want to do something more. They want to serve, but there's something stopping them. They can't make that decision. What tips would you give someone in that position?
I feel like we all really have like really big dreams and desires. I also think that what comes with that is a level of fear that's overwhelming for people, because it's so big that what you see in your mind is so much bigger than where you see yourself at the moment, that you just can't believe that it's real or that it's possible, like there's no way, like people have dreams to open up group homes, or to start nonprofits or businesses, or to help their family, to retire their parents. People have these dreams that they feel like are beyond their ability to achieve, which then leads to paralysis. And what I feel like is the best thing for that, the best remedy for that, is really coming to the realization that you're not alone, like there's an idea that you're self-made. Like, this is like a cultural thing. Like, people will say, oh, I'm self-made. And it's like, you didn't get made by yourself. There was two humans and a divine being, depending on what you believe, you know? And so even if that was it, it took three to make you, you know? And you came with instructions. You came with your DNA and your gifts. And if you believe in anything divine, right? You came with the instruction that was written on your life to come into the world and fulfill. And so I feel like we get separated from the idea that we need support, that we can utilize support, that we have support. And sometimes life shows you, because, you know, people can suck. So you may have had experiences where people have put you down, where you told someone your dream and they told you it wasn't possible and you believed them.
Right.
You need to believe your vision more than you believe anything or anyone else. This prescription, I wear glasses, is for me. If you were to put my glasses on, you wouldn't be able to see. We got two different visions, okay? And we need to be able to really just go back to seeing our vision, just like being a child, right? Kids have these ideas and they're like, let me just work at it. And they'll craft and they'll try to figure it out, right? Even if someone's like, I don't know about that, they'll try to figure it out. And I feel like we have to return to that nature, because again, that was our instruction. We were given that at birth. Abundance and prosperity and joy and peace and love are our birthright. It's not something that we have to attain. It's something that's already within us. We just have to return to that nature. So I would say, you know, your vision is given to you for a reason. Now, is it going to be easy to get there?
That's a different story, right?
Yeah. Nobody said it was going to be easy, but it was given to you for a reason. And there's people's lives who are wrapped up, their success is wrapped up in you being able to come to that realization as quickly as possible and create small acts every day that put you one step closer to that.
Right.
So that's what I would say.
Yeah, it's very interesting how people have lost that drive. Like when you said, when you're young, you just go after it, and they're like, don't touch that. And you were like, I bet you I'm going to do it, you know? And it's that hard, like my sisters would say, you have to learn the hard way. You know, that's what they always say about me. You always have to learn things the hard way. But my thing is, like, because if there's something in my heart, there's a fire in my heart, I need to try it. Otherwise, it's going to bother me over and over. And if I don't get burned, you know, I'm not going to learn. And a lot of times the lesson was worth it, you know, and it gave me the opportunity to experience life fully. And I just don't understand where people lose that. And then they just sit back in fear, and then they miss out on doing so much in life and being able to give their gifts out to the world. And it's really sad. And I'm like, I wish there was a way we could pull that out of people and just say, come on, girl, let's get this. Like, don't think, like, just do it. You'll never know what can come from it if you don't actually try. It may not be as bad as what you think, you know, and that's evident in just your life already. Like, you've done so much, and you've already like inspired people to make change in their life in something that is a big burden for a lot of people, which is finances, because a lot of us are not taught how to handle it. And you have done that, and as far as inspiring people to like, hey, I need to do something different, you know, that I'm capable of doing something different. And the big thing is giving people that hope and inspiration. So thank you for being that. Okay. Lightning round time. Okay, so I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and you just answer it what comes to mind, short and sweet. If you need to discuss it, it's okay. You know, we're open here. Okay. So, what initially held you back from making your commitment to change, if anything held you back?
If anything held me back, it was myself. You know, I'm my own worst enemy. You're your own worst enemy. As you were talking, literally what came to my mind was, stop putting your own fire out. You said you have a fire within you. Kids have a fire when someone's passionate about what they want to do. And I think we get to the point that we don't want someone else to put the fire out. So we put it out ourselves to kind of beat them to the punch. Right.
Yes.
And so I was putting my own fire out essentially, like, and then I was like, I'm not going to do that anymore. Like if someone else wants to try to put my fire out, let them try. Okay. I'm going to be stoking it with wood. I got wood behind my back. I got wood everywhere in my pockets. I'm going to have wood in my head wrap. Okay. And so, you know, I think that when I came to that realization that it was just me with me. And if I can master me, then there's nothing that can stop me.
Yes. You gotta do the fingers. Snaps. So what do you feel has been the best advice you've ever received?
Right now, because I read and listen to a lot of things. Right now, my favorite quote, I think it's by Miles Monroe, and he says, don't measure your accomplishments by, you know, the success of others. Essentially, don't compare yourself to anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Measure your success by God's instructions on your life and your progress on that path of instruction. And that really resonates with me right now, is that what was my instruction? What was written in my DNA and in my spirit to come into the world and do? And in every act, am I doing that in some way, shape, or form? So I think it's really necessary to have a personal mission and vision statement. I taught personal growth and development for years, so I'm a nerd. Just like businesses have mission and vision statements, because if you don't have one, you're going to adopt one. And you might be adopted. Who knows whose mission and vision you're adopting, and it wasn't for you. And so for me, you know, mine is to promote and facilitate healing in the world through connection. I do that not only as a therapist, but if I'm at the grocery store, like I'm going to open the door for somebody if I can. I'm going to smile at someone when I walk by. I'm going to tell a stranger that I like their hair. And that it's tiny. It's the little acts and ways of being, but it's my instruction on my life of how to move and be in the world. And that gives me purpose and the ability to just have clarity, because I also know what's not for me. If it's not in my vision, then it ain't for me.
Right. And you know, that little thing you said is, it's small, but it's a big thing for those people who are receiving it. I mean, I've seen people's face light up when you say something like, oh, you know, that looks really nice. They're like, oh, thank you, you know, because somebody notices them. And it's not something on a negative, you know, it's not something negative. It's something like, wow, okay, you see me. It's like, yes, I see you, you know, and they're not just like falling through. So I think like we need more people like you. There's not enough people like you that do that. And it's so, especially now, oh Lord, that's a whole other conversation. Anyway, can you please share a personal habit that contributes to your success?
Curating playlists. So I'll curate playlists for pretty much anything. I curate my playlist for my morning routine. I'll have like a mellow morning playlist, and then I'll have my, you know, get up and go playlist. And I'll have a playlist for specifically when I run. I have playlists for when I'm lifting. I have playlists for when I'm sad. I have playlists for everything. I think curating, I guess, is the skill. Curating my experiences is something that really helps me to keep myself as grounded as I possibly can, if that makes sense. If I can put my armor on as early in the day as possible, then the things that happen, yes, they're going to come somewhere, you know, in my vicinity, but it ain't going to be like right here if I've got my armor on. And so curating my experiences on social media, with what I consume and ingest, as far as information and things like that, are really key. So doing that in some way, shape, or form first thing in the morning, and throughout the whole day, because it can take all day to keep yourself in a good place, okay? Even especially right now, is what I would say is the most helpful thing that I have kind of honed and worked on.
Wow, okay. Now, how often do you change your playlist?
There's playlists that I've had for years. So I had a playlist that was like my debt-free motivation. And then when I became debt-free, it was like, okay, well now what? So that playlist was there for 3 years. It just depends. It depends on the situation and the time. And I'll still go back and listen to the old one because it reminds me of my experiences and stuff at the time. But it just depends on the topic.
So I've never heard someone say to make a playlist. I always heard like have a theme song, but not a whole playlist. That's awesome. Yeah. You have to share when you're.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I said you have to share when your playlist one day.
I know. Oh boy.
that'll be like a whole other thing that people will be like, yeah, girl, let me tell you my playlist.
Right. I'm gonna have to do that.
Oh, see? So what were you gonna say? You started to say something.
No, I was just saying, music has a way of moving us. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
sound, our senses, using our senses to work in our favor,
yes.
I think is really key. Music is one of those things that can really affect us, So I think being intentional about it can be helpful.
Yes, yes. So you talked about reading. So what book would you recommend to the C2C audience and why?
Yeah, y'all gonna be mad at me. The book is called The Lies We Tell Ourselves. It's a short book. It's like 50 pages, but it might take you a minute to get through because you're going to be bumped and bruised and feel disrespected and called out because it forces the adaptation of understanding that you may have mindsets, and essentially it's showing you that you've been putting out your own fires. You've been lying to yourself about certain things to work in your benefit, to justify your behavior, to justify why, certain things have kind of worked out the way that they have in your life. And it brings that to your awareness. And with awareness, you get the opportunity and you're empowered to be able to do something. If you're a victim, that means things are happening to you and you have no control. But when you take ownership, not of what someone has done to you, but that you are in your own being, have some level of efficacy as far as how you react and how you respond and what you do after the fact, then taking on that ownership for yourself, not for anybody else now, okay?
Right.
Is what empowers you to be able to influence your life in a way that you are not able to do otherwise.
Wow. Yeah, well, you're like blowing me away. I'm just like, every time you're speaking, I'm just like, I can't get the words. I'm like, just like, oh.
That's it.
Wow.
I know. This is me with myself in my own brain. I'm like, whoa.
Okay, so here's your big question. If you found out that you had 1 hour left to live and you were given the opportunity to give one final message, what would it be?
That's deep.
1
hour, one message. I would say, and I knew I was conscious I only had 1 hour.
Yes.
Yeah. The crazy thing is that it's the reason why my partner says that he felt drawn to me was because we were chatting one night. And I said to him, because I experienced grief quite early in my life, I understood mortality and death at 5 years old, like that finality. And one of the things that I think gives me my fire and keeps my fire stoked is understanding that we don't know if we have more than an hour right now. So we're walking around, if you listen to Gary Vee, right? Like Gary Vee talks about this, where people are walking around living their life like they have all this time left on the planet. Like you have time to waste. Like there's no time to waste. Like we don't know how much time there is. So we have to be acting accordingly. And I would just, press upon someone to have that realization. Like if today was the end, like this is my last hour of my life, I'm going to do what I want with this hour. Right. But if this is the last hour of your life or the last day of your life, would you be doing something differently? And if that's the case, why are you not creating action to be living that life now? As opposed to feeling like you have more time. Then you don't know that you ain't know. How do you know? We don't. So I would put it back on them. I would say, I know this is the last hour of my life. I'm about to go, I don't know, skydive or something. But if this was the last hour or day of your life, what would you be doing differently? What would you regret? And why are you not trying to find a way to rectify that in every day of your life until you get there?
Wow. So the answer was just as deep as the question.
Had to.
And I bring that up too a lot of the times because a lot of people don't decide to start living until they're told that they're about to die. And I'm like, come on, live today, take advantage today, don't wait till everything's perfect because that's not going to happen. Wow. It's so deep. You have given me chills today. So I know, just like I already have the information, but I know our audience wants to know where else can they find out, where can they find out more about you, find out what you're doing? Please tell us.
Yeah, I'm most active on Instagram. So you can find me at Jacent Gems. That's JACENTS. GEMS, Jacent Gems, and everything is there. My podcast is linked there, my website, all my services, and I go live regularly and have these conversations with my audience. I call my audience my tribe because we're a family. And the point, thankfully, one of the good sides of social media is that we can connect. We can use it to connect. And so that's my goal, is that I want to show up on purpose, and I ain't showing up if I ain't dropping gems. So when you see me, it's because I'm coming with that fire. So definitely come hang out with me in my internet space, and don't come hang out and not say hi to me. I feel like my internet space is like my home. You wouldn't come to my house and not say hi. So don't come up on my page and not say hi somehow. I'll probably because I DM everybody that follows me and that engages with me. I reply and all that fun stuff. But yes, let's, do life together. Let's support each other. Let's uplift each other and live today, like you said, as if it were the last, because we just don't know.
We don't know. Now, before you go, you have to tell us a little bit more about your podcast. I meant to ask you earlier, and then we got sidetracked. So tell me a little bit more about your podcast and what our listeners would expect from it.
Yeah, I typically release 3 episodes a week. One episode on Mondays is with another woman. Usually, I think they've all been women of color up to this point. Women of color kind of killing it in their own realm, and everyday women just living their best lives, just talking about how to overcome obstacles. And I feel like creativity is an outlet that helps us to heal and grow and learn. And so it's a podcast for creatives. To me, everybody is a creative in some way, shape, or form, to uncover their hidden gems. So Mondays, an episode with an interview of another woman killing it in the community. Wednesdays, we talk about attachment. I'm a therapist, so I can't help but talk about relationships and love and all that fun stuff. So we talk about attachment, and everyone loves those series. And on Fridays, we talk about finance. So today, I actually just released an episode about how my coaching client tripled her income, and we only met twice. And she started 2 weeks. So it's a good time. It's a good time. We're just learning, growing, sharing, and leveling up together.
Level up, level up, level up, level up. Okay. I love it.
Don't get me started.
Wow. I told you, you just got me going. So thank you so much. I'm going to just say again, thank you so much for being a VIP guest on the C2C podcast. And I do want to thank our listeners for tuning in. We hope you feel inspired. I know I'm inspired, and I want to keep moving forward make sure you're moving forward towards your goals and stick to it, or make a commitment to change your life. Please make sure to check out the links provided by our guests and share today's podcast and information with anyone you feel may benefit from it, which is everyone. So please share that. And remember, in order to get to the top of the steps, you have to take the first step. But don't step on anyone on the way, because you just might trip. This is Miss Nikki. Till next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
To the Commit to Change